Welcome to the OC. I'm Phil, and this is my co-host Corey. And tonight we are talking about Black Lodges. What is a Black Lodge, Corey?
Google it, Phil. What do you think it means?
When I Googled Black Lodges, it brought me to a lot of slavery.
Yes, and now you bookmarked it. That's why you need to use a VPN and incognito mode.
Oh God, here I am. In the midst of a Black Revolution. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So anyway, the Black Lodges, tell me what they are.
Okay, so the concept of a Black Lodge has more to do with renegade Freemason lodges. Okay,
right.
Lodges that are either covert in some manner or completely violate the tenets. Basically, they say they're a lodge, but really, are they a lodge? Who knows? And this is the idea. And usually they start out as a lodge, though, right? So
that's right.
It's lodges gone wild. Generally,
lodges gone wild.
Except in the case, turns out when you Google Black Lodge, I ran into the same problem. I was like, no, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, a Black Lodge.
They are. But Google has this way of, going, all right, we'll take two words, Black Lodge, and here we are. We're into something entirely different. So
or were we? So this is what I want to sort of talk on when we talk about the whole Black Lodge concept. Really, the Black Lodge, which in this case means lodges of black men,
right?
Freemason Lodge of black men, does kind of fit the monkeyer of, maybe that's the wrong word to use.
Moniker?
The ID monkey, like the name of.
Yeah, that's a moniker.
Moniker.
Not monkey. Moniker. Moniker.
Okay, right. I pronounce things wrong. All right. Okay. So it fits it because this is at the time these lodges would have been formed or tried to be formed. They couldn't actually get writ. So everything you see for Black Lodges, so we'll talk about this one first, comes down to Prince Hall Freemasonry. Apparently there was a guy named Prince Hall. So his first name was Prince, last name was Hall. And he helped the British out. And apparently they gave him a writ to start his own lodge.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But getting that recognized it was the African Grand Lodge of Massachusetts. Right?
Massachusetts. Yeah. Yeah, because traditionally when we did the Illuminati and we did that, like that kind of stuff, traditionally it was your typical Anglo-Saxon white old dude who was amazing.
And not
and
just
that's changed,
usually some degree of coin, right? I mean,
of course.
At least
and
once they
I don't
stopped
think
moving
that's
from
changed that much.
operant to practicing or whatever the term was.
Yeah, I think that if you're to be a Mason, you typically are seeing, perhaps not rich, but you're certainly seeing people that are middle class and above. You're not seeing it's not like the guy down begging for money on the street is going to join the Freemasons.
Correct. So, you're a person of some means, maybe not rich, but
and reputation, right? You've got a good reputation. You work,
and a white male. That's apparently was very important.
And definitely a white male.
So in this case, not a woman, not a Jesuit, not a Jew. There were so many.
No Jews. I did not know that. No Jews.
Apparently you couldn't be a Jew and a Mason at the same time.
Really?
Again, I
don't know. They don't.
Freemasons out there, feel free to correct me.
Yeah.
It was very much white Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
Yes.
So apparently you had to believe in a higher power. You didn't necessarily have to believe in God.
Correct.
But there were still some things that they would put these weird, like I said, the weird restrictions on where it's like no bondsmen, which I guess means
it's still it's still that way. I believe that you have to believe in a higher power or something to that effect. But there's certainly changed in terms of, and they're also changed because the recruitment, people aren't joining these organizations like they used to, right?
No, they're not. Now, apparently the Prince Hall Freemasonry, which is the Black Lodges, they're doing okay. They still exist. There's still things, but they had to go through hell to get that. So they were one of the first kind of original Black Lodges in the sense of color of skin, but also in the case of this was a lodge that was in a really weird place. Nobody would give them a writ. Like it took them forever to eventually create their their lodge. It was like African Lodge 459.
Oh, okay.
So
well, when I Googled Black Lodges, though, there was other things than Masons that came up. It was like,
yeah, I can
just all
imagine
sorts of stuff. And I'm like, okay. So if you guys, anyone out there listening and you're interested in this stuff, perhaps there are other things to Google. P2 Lodge, Propaganda Do. That's a big one, and you'll get actual
Covert Lodge also works. So
Covert Lodge, and
yeah.
because if you just put Black Lodges,
Clandestine,
yeah,
colostomy,
it's called clandestine.
Clandestine. Damn it! Where were you during our opening, Phil? When I was trying to mumble through that word.
I don't know. I wanted to see you struggle. No, sorry.
For anyone who can read lips, I said, "Love you."
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I love you too, I guess. Well, now that's awkward. Okay, so we're back to who started this fucking thing. What was his name? Because I want to hear you pronounce this name.
Wait, okay. Are we talking the
who was the guy? Who was his name? Well, I'll try first. I'm gonna say it's Licio Gelli.
Okay. Before we hop to our good buddy Licio, let's talk about the OG Covert Lodge.
Oh, our good buddy
Adam West type.
Adam West.
Adam West.
So from Illuminati.
Exactly, right.
Like and subscribe. Check out our Illuminati episode. Jesus.
Like and subscribe, folks.
Yeah, that was actually a really good episode.
I thought it was okay. I mean, I had a lot of information in it, right?
Yeah. Us and Adam West. We're rocking. So yeah, he was like an OG.
Yeah,
he is the OG of like fucking shit up for being a Mason. Like he became a Mason to kind of learn their ways and their rituals,
and then take over a lodge, the Theodore of Good Counsel.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Put on his little tights.
His little tights with his little mask, with his little eyebrows and his owl.
Painted on eyebrows and fucking okay.
But that was an example of it, right?
Yeah, so that's a great example. Yeah,
right? Because it was the same idea where they kind of ran into the same issues of this was the lodge that was irregular by far and was twisting the teachings of it. And
remember it was like sex parties and fucking getting it was kind of remember the hotels, if you join us, well, there's free brothels for everyone.
Telling me that's the normal Freemasons don't get that privileges?
I don't think so.
Got this card that says
there's a bunch of dudes eating biscuits and drinking tea, I think. Not, stripper poles and all sorts of weirdness. No, so our friend Adam West, and that's a good example where he was like, okay, I want to like kind of rule the world idea. How do I go about doing that? And how do I infiltrate an already existing, membership
and take it and make it my own, right? So twist it. And again, one of the things you can look at is, I don't know if Theodore of Good Counsel was ever officially blacklisted, or because that happens with our friends Propaganda Do an awful lot.
Well, I think
they get blacklisted like 2 or 3 times by the Orient Lodge saying, we don't know you, go away.
Well, because, and then there was, we'll get into that. There's lots of good stuff that happens to the lodge after a while, but this lodge, they started out as Masons, and really they did. I don't know what happened inside, if they still continued to, follow the Mason, like was everybody involved, like, or was this one of those, the upper echelons are involved in craziness, or
are we talking about the stripper pole Illuminati Masons, or
are we
talking the P2?
We're talking about the P2.
Okay, so this is an excellent point. So the way I heard it described is essentially it was a dying lodge. So the P2 lodge had originally, there was apparently a P1 lodge, believe it or not.
Yeah, they changed the name, right?
1800. That turns out when you get blacklisted, all you do, if your organization gets blacklisted, you just change the name.
It's like going bankrupt in Canada.
Okay, I'm now
go bankrupt, and now I'll just change my name.
And I won't even be clever about it. I'll add a 2 on the end of it.
Yeah, or a dot or something. Anyway.
Exactly, right?
Right. Yeah. So so the lodge was dying.
Yeah, the lodge was dying. So you had the original, like late 1800s, you had the original P1 lodge, and it was essentially like it ran afoul of, I think Mussolini or somebody, and they banned all secret societies. So, and they didn't stop. They kept kind of going, but it was sort of like, okay, you're not really doing anything.
Yeah. And that was, that was near the end, right? They actually banned.
Oh, they banned, it's been banned. It actually got banned a couple times. So the original P1
76
lodge the original P1 lodge back in the early 1900s got banned.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, because they did a crackdown. And the problem with secret societies is when you crack down secret societies, you seldom kill them. You usually force them underground. And in this case, it limped along, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily super nefarious at this point. At that point,
Right.
it might have been populated with horrible amounts of fascists and communists and that, but for the most part, it wasn't nefarious.
We also have to remember that Italy sided with Germany in the war. I mean,
the second one, not the first one. The first one, they were
no, I know, but I mean, we're looking at yes, and did they stay? They stayed out of World War One, I think, a little bit.
I believe they allied, like they reading a book, Guns of August, fascinating read, long read at the start because they tell like a lot of names, a lot of dates, and a lot of boring. However, it picks up. But Italy sort of joined the Allied. Well, I guess was it the Allies and it wasn't really the Allies.
Wasn't the Allies
in World War One? It was like they joined England and France. Like they joined what they thought was kind of the winning side. I guess they didn't do much, but they technically were on the side.
Well, I know. See, I know way more about World War II. I think it's because of
the fun one.
The fun. As we know, it World War, the war to end all wars, or the fun one, whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's the problem.
The first one was the war to end all wars, right?
Yes, and the World War II was the fun one. Unless you were Jewish, in which case it was very much not fun.
Not fun.
We're not making light of this.
No, we're not. Some of them
the gallows humor,
of course.
But the fact is, World War II, you had a clear evil person, whereas World War I was just diplomacy gone wrong.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is that, like, from 1945 to 76, that was a time period where this lodge was operating. Like you said, a lot of fascists, a lot of former, individuals who perhaps partook in things that people, on the Allied side would disagree with.
Which is where we probably pull up your buddy Licio Gelle, the mattress king of Tuscany.
Mattress king of Tuscany. That's awesome. We don't use a straw here. This is nothing but the best.
That is the worst racist Italian accent I've ever heard.
Geppetto.
This side of Mario from Super Mario Bros. Buddy.
I got everything you need. Fuck. Anyway, so that dude, he was only a Mason for like 2 years, and he became like the Grand Master, right?
But he was tapped, right? So he was, and this. So
he was a big
if you
deal.
Remember with our buddy Adam Wausype, Adam Wausype brings in his buddy Carnegie, or or what it was, that Henry N-word, whatever his name is, who was whatever the other guy was.
I remember,
who was a mass recruiter, who was the guy who would do the sex parties. He could get people in and get them to do stuff. And this guy was, Gelly was the same. He could go off. He was sort of put as the guy responsible for revitalizing the Propaganda Do Lodge, or P2.
Which is a weird name. Propaganda in any language, I think.
Did you find any inkling as to where that came from?
No idea. No. And it's apparently Italian. So I'm not sure if maybe propaganda means something different in Italian. I don't know. But yeah.
I tried to find it. Okay. I went off and I was like, okay, where can I find where they came up with the idea of propaganda do?
Yeah. I don't know. That was just now you got to remember too, a lot of the information, like when I was looking for this stuff, and that's why I ended up
know the sites
you
were, I know the sites you were going to, buddy. Yeah, you told me. Big black lodges. Yeah, maybe you need to go off and do better Google searches.
That was fun. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat,
I guess. Yeah, no judging here. It's a judgment-free zone.
This is a judge-free zone. But as far as this loot, is it Lucio? Lucio?
You know what? It's Licio. Let's call him.
He wasn't a nice dude.
Let's just call him Gelly.
He wasn't a good dude. Bad guy. I mean, really. So what happens? He gets he gets there and he goes, all right, what do we do now? And he starts recruiting, right?
Like mad. So this is a guy. So let's talk about some of the notable recruits. Okay.
Sure. And these are people no one who is listening is going to even know who the fuck they are.
Well, they might know Silvio Berlusconi. He may have known him as the guy who likes to have sex parties with young girls at the
like an Epstein.
Basically, yeah, like a gigolo Epstein, but Italian, I guess. I guess Epstein wouldn't be Italian. He would be a Jew. He would be, yeah. Okay. So
I'm pretty sure Epstein was Jewish.
So Silvio, he was prime minister of Italy like 3 times in a 10-year period or 15-year period.
He became prime minister of Italy. So who else was there? There was some royalty dude, right?
So when you're focusing on in some cases, what we want to do, I think, is focus on not so much who they're, because nobody's going to know who they are. But if I said, hey, the heads of all the intelligence agencies in Italy. And that's
who was there, right? Yeah. All of them. The big guys, big guns. Yeah. Yep. And not only that, all the military. So you're looking at commanders, generals, all the big wigs.
The guys in charge of doing the investigations into corruption. Yeah. Turns out, their bosses were also there too.
And what else I find funny is the media. So they ended
reporters, right?
Owning some of the major media outlet. So if you look at this, you have an organization that is set up almost like a government in its own right, basically able to sit down together and say, well, this is what I need done. How can you help me do this? And now I have my military, I have my intelligence, I have my politicians that are in my pocket. And not only that, I have my media.
Yeah,
that's going to give me super clout.
Like I can do Cora della Sera takeover. He bought a newspaper that was in financial trouble, which literally the newspaper itself was exactly it was like a leftist newspaper that he bought and turned into a right-wing newspaper.
Of course. Why not? Yeah, so it says here, all of the intelligence, so they call it the CESIS is their intelligence branches. So all 3 heads of that were there. Prominent journalists, members of parliament, industrialists, so rich people, obviously.
Which makes sense, right? Any of these secret societies, you need people with money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, and they found a document. I thought this was really cool.
This was the one in the false bottom of his daughter's suitcase.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was the plan for democratic rebirth. Is that the one? Yeah. So I'm like, well, that sounds like fucking New World Order shit to me. If it ever.
Anytime you add the word democratic on something, it's usually anything but, like the Democratic Republic of North Korea. The Democratic Republic of Congo. Right. Usually it's anything but democratic. And in this case, they want to strip out the republic. I think they want to strip out the republic aspect.
Well, they wanted to consolidate all media to become a state media. They wanted to suppress all trade unions. You don't got a union anymore. And
you know why that
rewriting
was, right?
the Italian constitution.
But you know why they wanted to suppress all unions, right?
Well, unions are bad for government.
Well, okay.
They're bad.
They're particularly bad when you're still living in the mindset of communism, socialism, terrible.
Yeah.
Right. If you're on the right, if you're more towards the fascist bent, you're going to say, you know what, those other guys over there. Unions are never associated with right wing. They are always associated with the usually far left.
Yeah, for sure. And that, but that sounds like, you're crippling the economy, like everything is starting to, meld into this one little melting pot of you do what we say, or, very North Korea,
kind of New World Order shit where you go off and you pretend. I believe with this letter, he talked about behind the trappings of democracy, essentially having a power elite. Basically, you're in control, but everybody thinks, oh, look, I've got a right to vote. Sure, you do. And
sure,
you can vote. Go ahead, vote. Guess what? Same results.
It's funny, even in our country or wherever, you have a right to vote, but you don't know what happens to your fucking vote after you put it in the little, you fold it up and hand it to the, to the people, right? You don't know.
That could be a shredder. You're right. That could be a total shredder. And they're like, yeah, you know what? We're good.
Oh, thanks. Put it in the box. Johnny will bring it down to the station.
Down to the dumpster out back.
Right. Like you kind of go,
there is a little element of trust. And this is okay.
Yes,
funny you hit on this. This was the situation in the States where they had tried to they were casting doubt on the whole process.
You mean Trump? Trump. It's a fucking this is a sham.
It wasn't just him.
No.
However, yes, he was leading the charge, and he was like, no, look, but exactly right. Had he won, it's a perfectly. I mean, he didn't seem to complain about the previous election because it was clearly done fairly.
Clearly, with no Russian involvement at all.
Sounds like another podcast, Phil.
It could very well be the collusion, as they call it. But this operated not just in Italy, and I thought that was also cool. Guess one of my favorite places that always comes up, and I've never been, always comes up. Argentina.
Yep. Hey, you know what? You know what also happens to hang out in Argentina?
Nazis. Lots of them.
Lots of Nazis.
Lots of fucking
strong
Nazis.
German culture there, and it's funny.
Strong. Yeah, well, that's where they all went. They all jumped on a boat. They went to Italy. Funny as that may be. And that's how they got out. Remember our fucking discussion on fucking Project Paperclip? Isn't it neat that we can it becomes all full circle?
That's what I'm trying. That's what I like to do, right? Where we can go off and we can go and pull in and say, we've already laid the groundwork for you people, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And then our 7 viewers,
they're going to love us. You people out there that watch us, thank you.
Thank you, folks. You're beautiful, whoever you are.
You're beautiful people, even if it's Corey's
especially
family.
You, Mom.
Yes, Mrs. Clark. Thank you for watching. Yeah, so they go to...
It's her birthday tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Cheryl. What are you, like 41?
Oh, you.
I'm such a flirt. I like your mother. She's a sweetheart.
I like my mom, too.
Well, you should. She's a nice lady. She gave birth.
Taking her out for dinner tomorrow. She wanted to go to Popeyes originally. Well, she originally said Popeyes, and then she said, "No, maybe that's
spender." You
okay?
Blow some dust off the 50s. Take her somewhere nice.
She said it, and then immediately said, you know what? That's probably not more of a. That's not really a breakfast. That's not more of like a birthday restaurant kind of place. We'll go somewhere." And she picked another place, which is nicer. Good.
She deserves it. She deserves the finest. Now that we're off track. Argentina.
Argentina. That's right. Argentina. Squirrel, where P2 was setting up extra lodges like nobody's business.
In Uruguay, in Brazil. Yeah. A whole bunch of different things. And that's only the ones they found out about. Right. There's going to be.
So you essentially have P2 doing what lodges do, and they become mother lodges, right? And given the nature, so most lodges that we know of don't have this level of next level New World Order stuff going on where they get political clout, all this stuff in one place. In this case, no. They were seeding. So, oh God, who was the friggin' guy? It was Argentina or Brazil. He was in charge, got his hands cut off in his crypt afterwards.
That sounds so familiar.
Yeah, you would have heard of it. 1 second here. Let's see if I can find his name. Probably not. Yeah, you know what? Nope.
So this was also a feeder lodge, right? So that was something else that I stumbled, and that was something that because the way that the lodges were spread out in Italy, this lodge, you could kind of, if you were not close to your home, you could go to this lodge. And that was one of the reasons that it stayed open. So they had a vast network too of people just stopping in, So
it's funny you mention that, the whole network of lodges.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of, so I believe, so 74, the Grand Orient Lodge backdated a blacklisting of P2 for reasons.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And
It was
but they did it like
erased.
at that point. So if you're part of a regular lodge, and you can go into other lodges and it doesn't matter, right? Like you don't need to go to your lodge. You can go to a lodge. P2 broke the mold with that because they created their lodges.
Right. Their own,
because these weren't lodges. Like I am a member of, I'm a Freemason. No, you're really a P2 member. Yeah. That says it's a Freemason, but you've been blacklisted for the last couple of years. So no.
Yeah, you're not allowed here. Yeah, well, but I mean, this organization, and I can only imagine, like, these are the ones that got caught, right? I mean, you've got high level, like, imagine in like, say, your city, Ottawa, right? How many high level people? It would be an interesting study to see how many high level politicians, high level, military, high level, whatever, special, CSIS, special services, are actually Freemasons. I mean, it'd be interesting, to see, or belong to another organization. I mean,
I think when you're dealing with security clearance, there may be some issues with you belonging to anything that, even
like a secret, organization.
Well, okay, so let's not kid ourselves. Freemasonry is not. It's like the worst kept secret. So it's like Boy Scouts of America, pretty much. Nobody really knows how to tie a bowline anyway. Same idea. You just don't know about the inner mysteries.
That's right. I know a lot of people who are, well, I shouldn't say I know a lot of people, but I know some people that are Freemasons, and I think it's a way to conduct your life, and basically
networking, and it's a networking opportunity
for
right?
Sure.
If you're
that you would use, like, especially for entrepreneurs, people in business. I mean, it's like if you're a brother, they call it you use that service of that person if you can, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then things get fucking really shadowy when you start to see,
Well, this is the perfect example of that, right? Where you have clearly designed, whether the original intent of the lodge was to take over Italy, or whether that's something where, and this is something they tried to talk about with the Gelly. Okay, was he the shadowy mastermind? Was he the puppet master? So to that note, where
was he though? I don't, because I didn't really read that he was so much the puppet master.
So remember that newspaper he took over?
Yeah.
So they published an interview they had with him when he was he was exposed as a member of the P2, and basically when asked what he always wanted to be. So Gelly was asked what he always wanted to be, and Gelly replied, "A puppet master."
Oh, like with Pinocchio.
Yeah, so use that terrible Geppetto accent you were using earlier.
Geppetto. Well, maybe. I mean, I don't imagine that he started and then he went, like, he must have had to figure out who to coerce into being part of this club. Maybe there was a few high-ranking people already members.
So he was part of Mussolini's black shirts. He was one of the volunteer black shirts, right? He was part of the fascist government. So, and he was kind of, he was exactly. This was a person who had contacts and had basically was a avowed fascist, I guess.
Yeah.
Hated communists, which is funny, makes for strange bedfellows, right? Like we talked about Gladio previously, and that was all came about because the communists were going to take over everything, right? So you need to go off and.
Well, I find it interesting. And they did a bunch of shit. So they're being blamed for like a bunch of stuff. Do you want to get into that, or
well, how about we'll touch on those things, and then we'll touch on how House of Cards came down. So first we'll touch on some of this. So do you want to, there's a couple things. How about you talk about one?
So well, you've already kind of mentioned it. They took control of the newspaper in 1977, which was a big deal because people are reading the newspaper, and if you can control what people read and understand or as truth, that's a big deal. The other one was Bologna massacre.
Yeah. And we talked about this under Gladio, right?
Yeah. So they were, they basically like an investigation was done. 85 people were killed and more than 200 wounded. It was kind of a big deal. And it was another one of these like sort of, what do you call that?
False flag operations.
Yeah. So exactly.
Who got blamed, Phil?
I don't know. It was
communists. I'm pretty sure communists or anarchists or somebody.
Yeah, it was something like that. I didn't really. This was more just so it was a bombing. Yeah. And a terrible loss of life. Mm-hmm. But yeah, your turn.
All right. So the big one I want to talk about is the attempted coup.
Oh,
the Operation Tora Tora.
Tora Tora.
They tried to do a coup on the Italian, the Italian coup d'etat. Okay, and basically it was just, they had everything organized. They had, members of the military involved.
Yeah.
And they were ready to go. The guy, Galope Borghese.
Oh, yes.
Like a spaghetti sauce. He went off and he called it off. Galope Borghese. Galope Borghese. He called it off at the last minute because he said the ruling Christian Democrats were aware. And this is one of those weird operations that, what does it say here? Our buddy Lucio Gelli, turns out Lucio Gelli was involved in this. Oh, go figure. Shocking. Yeah. And an awful lot of people were involved also in P2. Lucio Gelli was responsible for trying to he was apparently in charge of the team that was supposed to get the president at the time.
Really?
He did not get the president.
No. Yeah. Well, no. Did you know about their mafia ties?
Those.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to read more about it because I thought it was fascinating because you kind of go, okay, well, the mafia, why would they help? Well, there's always benefit to having henchmen. So this Michel Sindona, he was the mafia banker guy. I'm like, that gets fucking pretty convoluted. So they were using this guy to probably for funds and moving shit and doing all sorts of.
He would go off and take the money he would make and he would buy interest in banks, and he would go and he'd buy banks, and he'd be involved in money laundering. His name was Michel Sedona, the Shark.
The Shark. That's right. Yeah.
Not to be confused with the Shark.
Not Shart, which I have done once or maybe twice.
Google it, folks, if you're not sure what that is.
Yeah, it's not fun. Never trust a fart at my age. That's what I always say. Anyway, so if you think about how that works, like these guys they're not even, they don't even have to work in the confines of any kind of laws. So why not use the mafia? Why not, you're not even using the mafia, right? Like, think about it. If you're a Don, you're a mafia Don, you're like, wait, let me get this straight. We can engage in a mutually beneficial relationship where I help you with your stuff and you help me with my stuff. You help me, you look the other way because you control everything, right? Police. Okay. Well, there was 962 names of high-ranking. So we go over the important state officials. So all like every state, politicians, military, heads of the 3 Italian secret services, and all the heads of the police. Mm-hmm. All of them, like commissioners, like this was basically Gotham. This was Gotham City, essentially. All of them, with everybody in the sound being in the pocket of the baddies. Yeah, I mean, it's fucking insane. Like how it got that far. That's how it shows the Mattress King's power, right? He was able. Oh, do you know what his nickname was? No. King Cobra. I did read that. Yes. King Cobra. And you see a picture of it that's exactly like. You can see him going that? If you can throw a wrench, you can throw a ball. Or if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. But it was the purple cobras. So do you remember Escape from New York? Yes. Okay. Do you remember Snake Plissken's tattoo, where it's basically like it's a top part? I can imagine this Gelly guy having the same tattoo and it's just going, yeah. What do they call you, baby? You call me the Cobra Snake of the mattress, the Cobra King of mattress Tuscany. They call me the Cobra Mattress.
Exactly, right? It's coiled, I guess.
It's a coiler. Yeah. So on that note, yeah. So I mean, it's a pretty crazy fucking story.
Well, it is, but it starts to unravel at one point, right? So
mm-hmm.
This all comes to, so we talked earlier about, hey, you had this essentially nefarious shadow organization that's set up.
Yeah.
It turns out it gets kind of all brought down because of our buddy the Shart.
Yes, the Shart. Yeah. Well, tell us how.
Okay, so basically there was the Banco Ambrosio scandal, and this is one of the
that's what the banks, right?
Yeah, one of the Milan's principal banks, and FYI, this bank was also partially owned by the Vatican,
and the other half by the mafia.
Well,
I don't know.
Allegedly,
I'm fucking making that up, but it sounds good.
Okay, so Sedone basically got caught in shenanigans, right?
Yeah.
So he was laundering money. Now, one of the new popes, I want to say Pope John Paul I.
In 82? Yeah, he'd be the one
that him? Was that him? The one that lasted 33 days.
Oh, I don't remember.
Anyway,
we'll Google it.
New pope comes in, says, wait a second. I think we need to look close at it because we got a lot of rumors of corruption and malfeasance and shenanigans generally. Well, turns out, they find a lot of that. So Pope winds up dying of heart failure 33 days later, but the damage is kind of already done. Sedone winds up getting tagged. Okay, so I believe he flees at this point. He actually fakes. He apparently fakes his own kidnapping / death.
Oh, I didn't see that part.
Yeah, apparently he faked his own kidnapping, and he winds up. I know he eventually gets caught in the States, but I suspect he fled.
Well, he flees to Argentina.
I was gonna say, why not? Right?
We're all good fascists and communists and
all good
Nazis
go, right?
Go. Yeah, it's the home of the fascists. Yeah. So okay.
So that's what starts to trigger things. So when that triggers, they start doing the whole associate thing, and this is where the Mattress King or the King Cobra comes up. They wind up doing a raid on his place, and they find this wonderful list, and they're like, wait a second here. Yeah. This is like a who's who of
everybody.
Okay. Yeah. But it's not just, so there's another financer involved. And did you hear about God's banker?
Who's?
God's banker.
No.
Roberto Cavalli.
Oh, right. The Italian, he was an Italian socialist or some fucking thing like that, wasn't he?
Okay. This was the fellow who was found hanging from the Blackfriars Bridge in London with bricks in his pocket in a manner that he could not have managed on his own.
But they called it suicide
originally, because when I'm going to hang myself, I load my pockets full of bricks. And by the way, my fingerprints aren't on those bricks because I must have worn gloves, right?
Right, probably, yeah.
That's right. Correct. I go off and I find the Blackfriar Bridge and I hang myself from it because, why not?
It's like the guy that put how many bullets in his own head?
And then lit his car on fire and then lost his keys.
Threw lobs his keys away.
Princess Di, folks, look it up. Pretty shady stuff. Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
So Cavalli got caught up in this because Cavalli was in charge of one of the banks that he was involved in the bank that Sedona basically blew up because of his shady dealings, right?
Yeah.
So he was getting investigated. So he was on the run too. He actually had forged his passport and went to London. So fun fact, Gelli called himself King Cobra. And what he called his brothers were fraternes, basically Black Friars.
Oh, really?
Cavalli is found hanging from the Blackfriar Bridge.
Shocking.
In London, right?
It was and not a message.
Just that. Well, it's okay. So you talk about messages. And now they say, well, the bricks, right? So this is one of the theories that the bricks signify the Masonic connection because Masons, right? That's what they would do. I guess they would load your pockets with bricks and then
I hope not.
I guess
you didn't pay your dues this month.
That's right. We're going to load you with bricks. But those two situations is what led to all this kind of exploding for Gelli.
And there was a bunch of them that they wanted to arrest, right?
Well, it's funny you mentioned wanted to arrest and try and pin them to stuff. So Sedona eventually gets pinned for a murder of I believe, a reporter or a journalist.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
He eventually gets tagged for that. Do you know what happens to Sedona?
No.
Apparently, somehow, we're not sure how, it just happens, I guess. Cyanide got mixed into his coffee while he was in prison, and there was talk that he was going to flip and start singing.
Really?
And all of a sudden, his coffee cyanide finds its way into his coffee, and then
that's interesting, isn't it?
Poor the shark chokes on his coffee.
Well, it's like, Epstein. How he all of a sudden people were worried, like the big.
It's amazing when powerful people are worried about stuff.
Cameras stop working, doors in jails open,
guards take naps at the same time.
Saw nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is pretty interesting how many of these are around the world.
Well, this is it. So the P2 Lodge is a perfect example of like the perfect storm, the worst case of having a secret society that is behind pulling the levers of power, right? Everybody worries about the Illuminati. Well, okay.
As we've seen. So how many of these guys would have known about Gladio?
Funny you mentioned that, right? The Bologna Massacre. Remember we talked about the Bologna Massacre?
Right.
The fact that it's like, hey, what do you suppose the odds are that the intelligence chiefs knew that, hey, we've got a secret army sitting here that
we've got these guys we can use. We just have to activate them by saying you're activated.
Quellish, I think was Leonard Part 6. Bill Cosby, Leonard Part 6. The code word was quellish. It would set the animals off. Quellish. And then the animals, there's one scene where it's a rabbit attacking his neck.
Yeah. My safe word is banana.
My safe word is don't stop.
Don't stop. That's not a very good safe word.
No, I can see some confusion. There's probably some confusions that happen. Folks, if you don't know what a safe word is, Google it.
Hurt more. Hurts me more. No, that's not a good
Keep going.
Keep going. Deeper.
But exactly, right? So you've got, think about it, right? So first off, we've got the mafia who, could be all sorts, but the mafia, let's not kid ourselves. You have a mix, right? The mafia could contain some military people, but it probably contains a lot of ruthless thugs, which serve their purposes.
Well,
maybe you don't want them working with.
What do you need? You need guns. Okay, we can get you guns.
Yep.
You need drugs for parties. We got that. We'll cover you.
That's right.
Oh, you need someone whacked? I love using that word.
Whacked.
Forget about it. You need somebody whacked. It's like, what? You mean like, no? Okay, whatever. But like seriously, I mean, these guys are like versatile. They know every fucking low life.
But if you want to amp it up, this is where the Gladio comes in, right? You're like, well, okay, you know what? I need some finesse. I need like special forces kind of shit going on. Hey, don't we have a bunch of ex-KGB Nazis, whatever, or something we can call on? Why don't we see what they're doing?
Who are, assassins. Like not just they're fucking assassins, right?
Yeah.
So
because the Gladio wasn't necessarily like people think of the stay-at-home operation as, oh, they're just they're like a militia. No, folks. If you remember the episode, they are not like a militia.
Gladio.
They are more like special operations. These are commandos, folks.
A lot of them were SS. Former SS.
Well, we're talking 1970s. Probably not a lot were still SS, but
they were trained by SS. Right.
Well,
if you think about it.
The institutional knowledge passed on, right? Like,
oh yeah. How to kill somebody's not going to change a whole lot in terms of, how you go about doing it. But and I mean, seriously, it's crazy. It's crazy that they would have had opportunity to use Gladio.
Yep. And that's where the Bologna Massacre comes
bombing.
In. Is they say that it was a bombing, right? And hey, so when we talk about the whole spider, right? We talk about the mattress king cobra of Tucson. Tuscany.
I guess.
Tuscany, is that the right word?
Tuscany.
Am I saying it right?
I don't think Tuscany is the right word, but maybe it is.
Maybe it's anyway.
It's not Tucson. Corey.
So
I thought it was Turin.
The Shroud of Turin?
Not the Shroud of Turin.
Okay.
Ish. I don't know.
But
it's not important.
So was he the spider? Was he the spider at the center of the web?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it.
He lived to 90. Can you believe it?
Yeah, he lived a long time. He was in jail though, wasn't he?
No.
Or was he in Argentina?
I believe he actually ducked everything. So 1 second, let me just go off.
He was friends with like Juan Perón. You know, the fucking like this is the kind of guy this is, you know, he's a mingler of like presidents of countries. Like he knows people.
Yeah, and
he's
so
a guy
he
in
wound
the
up,
fucking know.
He was. So he was okay. So here's what happened to him. Charge of subversion associated with the Bologna massacre.
Mm-hmm.
He was sentenced to 2 months in prison on charge of subversive organization. 2 months in prison in Switzerland. And Italian sentenced him in 8 years on charge of financing right-wing terrorist activity in Tuscany. And he had been held in absentia 14 months in jail for illegally exporting money. So this was the guy who kept ducking everything. Like he managed to escape. I believe he did eventually get talked. I don't think he ever spent any time actually in prison.
Really?
I don't believe. I'd have to. Supreme Court dismissed Alaskan appeal for fraud. It was in his absence the police discovered the ingots. Blah 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 blah.
It is Turin, by the way.
It is?
Yeah, I believe so.
He spent his time under house arrest.
Oh, heavens to
in his villa.
His enormous villa overlooking the ocean. Oh, it's a rough life.
Yeah, so he made out okay.
So yeah, well, I mean, but they had laws. What was the law that they had enacted so there was no secret societies or secret?
Oh, this is where this is where they banned stuff. So they originally banned and then they banned it again.
Yeah, but they actually made an act. It's like the secret no secret organization act or something.
It was something about, so I believe the act is more of a, hey, you can't be an organization unless you make your members public, like your member list public.
Right. Oh, okay.
I think that's what it was. I didn't look. I just know they got banned. And again, we know when you ban a secret society, it's up to no good. It totally kills them. They go off and they just cease to exist.
They stop existing.
Yeah. Or exactly. Or you just push them so far underground that's like, okay, congratulations, we won. Go team.
That's right. Well, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to look at, like, you know, the G7 meetings and all these other things that happen in the world, and you go, what are these guys all talking about in there? What are they fucking doing? Like, there has to be some guys that go, I don't really agree with all this shit that's going on. You want to join a club?
Yeah, you want to join a club, buddy?
Want to join a club?
Well, I think this is the idea. How did he recruit? How was he so successful at recruiting? Was this like he got somebody, he made one good recruit and then it became like that person was able to recruit a bunch, or was it him who was able to go up and convince?
Well, like you said, he was Mussolini's like fucking basically SS, right? I mean,
he was part of their black shirts or whatever, again, which I don't know exactly how bad that was, but I suspect if you're, again.
So that means that people would know him. He would have been respected, you know, in the community of, you know, obviously the members of the military and secret services. And
well, again, the coup, right? He tried to do a coup. He eventually tries to lead a goddamn coup.
Well, it said in his letters, man.
Technically, it wasn't his loot. He didn't lead it. He was part of it. He was
but he was like, we're gonna have a rebirth. Well, what do you think that means? We're gonna get rid of the dude that's in there. How else do you have a rebirth of a country, right?
So back to the, hey, is he the center of the spider's web?
Yeah.
You think?
I do. I think at least he's what propagated the beginning of it all. But was he the actual brains behind it? I don't know. I didn't.
So
there wasn't enough information for me. I didn't get into this that deep.
So if you had to guess, Phil, who, if it's not him, who would be the spider at the center of this web of international espionage? And
I'm saying Juan Perón. What? No. Okay.
No.
Fine.
No.
Don't fat shame me, God damn it.
It's your favorite 3-letter agency.
CIA. No.
Right? Yes, this is one of the theories that this. So again,
really?
This links back to CIA was essentially the one trying to set, because again, remember, we're dealing. Think of the time period. Communism is a big thing. Rambo is fighting communists. If he's fighting communists, so we need to deal with it.
In like I don't know where it was, but I think it was in like Wisconsin.
It was not a nice place. It was a bad place. It probably was Wisconsin. It's a very bad place.
A lot of cheese.
And we know the shenanigans the CIA got up to.
How many people work for the fucking CIA? That would be a great question to ask, because they're everywhere.
Google it.
Would you actually get an
I don't know. I mean, seriously, you could ask the question. Good luck getting it. I mean,
you hear like everything that we've read. It's like, oh yeah, the CIA was there. The CIA, like, where is the CIA not?
Well, that's a better question, right? It's probably easier just to say they probably have a map and they say, we've got all these pins. They're like, oh, is that where your guys are? No, that's where we're not.
It's like the British where they say, like, what did I just read? It's easier to say the places that Britain hasn't invaded in terms of countries. I think it's only like 22 countries that it hasn't invaded.
Britain's been around for how long?
I'm just saying.
Right. Well, right. It's easy. You're right. It's easier to say places they haven't set up colonies in.
Colonies invaded and occupied.
Right.
Yeah.
But the CIA, we know at the time they would have had a mandate to go hard on communists.
Well, they already knew too that, Italy was against us. Right.
Well, were they against? I mean, the problem with Italy was you had your mix of your.
Well, not to offend any of the Italians, but Mussolini was on Hitler's side.
This is 70s. We're not Mussolini ceased to be a thing.
I know, but then you have the Cold War. Think about this for a second.
Sure, you're right. But the big threat.
Are you going to trust Italy with your sovereignty? No, you're not.
No, you absolutely. So, and this is the thing, right?
That's
if you're thinking as CIA, you're like, this country could flip.
They already
did to stop. They may have flipped. They've actually, they've changed shirts so many times they've rubbed their nipples raw.
All they had to do was be promised France, for fuck's sakes, and they said, "All right, we're in."
Okay, done. Can we give you it? No,
but France. Okay,
that's right.
All right.
But so as a CIA, you'd say, okay, we need to find somebody or set up somebody there so that we would have a friendly.
Perhaps
operation. Would it be great if we could take over a country?
Sure.
And make them our meat puppet.
Our meat puppet. Right. I wonder when you say that, it scares the shit out of me because, I wonder how many meat puppets are already out there.
This is the problem, right? When you talk about looking at states, how many of them are honest to goodness states that care about their people, and how much of them are like, okay, all right, I'm going to pull your cord on the back, and here's what you're going to say.
Well, and how many people are how many countries are afraid of, say, a power like the United States, right? Like, well, we'll put a trade embargo on you. We'll fucking stop shipments from coming to your country. We'll do what we did to North Korea. I mean, those fucking people are eating like root vegetables, and that's about it.
But they've got hypersonic missiles, Phil, so they're doing fine.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un is not losing weight at any rapid speed, so
I thought he looked thinner. I thought he looked. I said he looked thinner. I don't know.
Maybe he has the gout or something. I don't know.
Well, I know if you like your sausages and your beers,
I don't know, man. It's kind of, when you read shit like this, you go, how many of these exist that we just don't fucking know about? How many of these little groups? And I'll guarantee you, there's every country has a little inside group, and they're peers, right? Like, let's say, like, when you're a cop, who do you hang out with?
Criminals.
Other cops.
Oh, sorry. I guess I completely guessed that wrong.
Only but do you know what I mean? Like,
you're
a politician, who do you hang out with? Other politicians. And there's always, and I see it in business, I see, like, if you like people who work for big corporations, sometimes they're like, well, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you, and everyone's happy. And it happens all the time.
Quid pro quo, baby. It's the way it works. And if you, and this is what we were talking about with the P2 and the mafia connection, right? It makes sense that P2 is like, hey, we've got all this political clout. We've got control over intelligence, law enforcement, military. You know what? You have a lot of stuff we want too, mafia. Why don't we work together towards a common goal of you stay the hell out? Because the mafia didn't like the communists any more than anybody else did.
Fuck no, they didn't. No,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, as far as I know,
I'm pretty sure they weren't big fans of it. I mean, maybe the Russian mob, but even then, they don't act very communistic.
No, because the mob bases a lot of what it does on business as well, right? So they have businesses, not the like everyone would think of the mafia as like just a bunch of guys hanging around collecting money from people. Like, I mean, no, they would have numerous businesses that they would be funneling, yes, illegal activities through or what have you. But
well, this is where the money laundering comes in, right? So if you've been selling your drugs, you're going to need to have some legitimate businesses with which to launder that cash, whether it's a bank like Banco whatever that
in Switzerland,
the Shart had.
Shart. Mr. Shart. But yeah, but you could use the mafia in other ways. I mean, okay, let's shut somebody up.
Yep.
Can you scare the shit out of this person and tell them to shut the fuck up? You don't have to kill them.
Well,
just send a couple big Italian goons over there to, you know.
There was an awful lot of killing, particularly during the Italy's years of lead, right? To create the strategy of tension. Right. There was an awful lot of, if you were a reporter that got too close.
For sure.
If you were a cop that got too close.
Right. Because the mafia, you know, that would be in their heyday. This is like Al Capone time and like big in the States, the mob. Well,
fair enough. Yeah, because we're talking 70s ish in Italy, which
that's like the heyday of
organized crime was.
Yeah, totally, it was like they're making the most money. You know, it's before they invested in Bitcoin.
them and Musk.
The mafia's like, we don't have to like kill people anymore. We're in Bitcoin.
Well, it took a bit of a hit when China blacklisted it, but it's recovered. So you'll be happy to know.
I'm so happy.
The dip, folks. Should have bought the dip.
You should have bought the dip. That's what I don't even know what that means.
T-shirts made like that. When it dips down, buy it then, and it goes back up.
Oh, is that what they call it? Buy the dip.
Buy the dip. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So with this, the P2 thing. Now the problem with the linking back to the CIA is everybody links stuff back to CIA. It does make a degree of sense that the CIA would be involved in they would have the resources, they would have the expertise, and they didn't set these guys up. They probably recognized them for what they were and said, hey, you know what, we can go off. And
is there proof? Is there proof the CIA was involved though? I mean, is there some proof?
What there is proof? So let's see what they've curious. Got. One second. So
I did not read anything about, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, I tried.
Okay, so 1990 report alleged that the CIA had paid Gelly to instigate terrorist attacks in Italy. Following the report, which also claimed the CIA to be involved in the assassination of Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, the president Francisco blah blah blah. Request the opening investigation while the CIA itself officially denied these allegations. Right. So apparently the report was based off the testimony of a former CIA agent, and they say it was bullshit. And
well, what else are they going to say, Corey? It's all bullshit until it's not bullshit.
Right. Yeah. So, but we know from the shenanigans the CIA has pulled in the past that I don't think any of us would put this past them, saying, you know what?
Actually, this is relatively minor in the big picture of what they've done and what we've even discussed in just our podcast. I mean, it's fucking insane. You go even to like Operation Paperclip, and you get into like taking these monsters, these absolute human garbage, and then giving them good jobs and a beautiful life. Damn you, CIA.
or drugging your own citizens and experimenting on
MK
them.
Ultra, there you go. Like and subscribe.
Right, like and subscribe.
Not only are our citizens here in Canada bribing us with maple syrup and cookies. Yeah.
Oh, maple cookies.
Oh,
mom. I did not realize my mom did not care for those. She liked the maple cookies. Dad liked the maple cookies, not mom.
I love it. You know what? I had a guy who worked for me, and he used to bring in fucking cookies. Like, I need cookies, but he would bring in. They were like dollar store maple cookies. They're fucking delicious. I'm like, where do you buy these? He's like, I get them at the dollar store for $1. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? A full box of these, and everybody would eat them. And because they were $1, I'd be like, dude, can I just give you a 20 and you fucking grab a bunch of boxes of cookies? They were so crispy and crunchy and delicious. So, our American friends, if you do not know what a maple cookie is, you have not lived. Go and buy a box. Order them on Amazon.
That's right, exactly, and you can get them. And they're made with real. I don't think the dollar store ones probably aren't made with real maple syrup, but do you really
taste pretty fucking good. I was blown away. I'm like, you bought these where? Like, he could have told me he bought them at a dumpster sale, fucking fire sale, and I would have been like, oh, they're pretty good.
Leave the box.
Gonna have another. It was delicious. Your mom doesn't like maple cookies, though, huh?
No, not at all. I did not realize that.
Didn't really care for them either, but
I picked them up for her thinking they were a tasty treat. She's like, yeah, your dad was the one. I'm like, oh, okay. Ooh. All right. Well, Jesus. I'll eat them then.
Oh, shucks.
That's just what I need. I need more friggin' cookies. Yeah.
Dude, the world needs more cookies and less CIA.
That's saying. Exactly it. Yes. That's the one takeaway. So that's the summary, folks. Yes. The world needs more cookies.
More cookies, CIA. Less CIA. And down with the fucking Nazis.
Down with the Nazis. So to summarize.
Yeah.
All right. To summarize, Black lodges, also known as covert lodges, are clandestine lodges, take many forms. They go from the actual Black lodges with African Americans back in the day to you've got the Illuminati, which took over a lodge and converted it, and our poster child P2, which really is, if we did a New World Order episode, again, it would be P2 is the New World Order. Or
like on a small scale, they are New World Order.
Completely.
Just fucking, they built an absolute empire inside a Mason's lodge.
State within a state, baby. State within a state. And they collapsed because the shark couldn't keep his act together. And
Sharks are unpredictable and can happen at any time.
And we now no longer have to worry about secret societies because
they said, there's no more of those. So
there's no more, or is there?
There's no more of those.
That's right.
Ever.
They are gone forever.
Yes, they are gone forever.
Yeah. And one of the prevailing theories is that the state within a state in P2 that was created in Italy was actually the CIA's founding.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, Phil, what's next time? Come on, you've had time to think.
You know what? My original thing that I was going to do, I'm not going to do. I have decided, because of this, I think we should do the Build-A-Burger group.
Yes.
Because a bunch of powerful people meeting up, hanging
doing
out,
stuff.
Doing shit, getting naked together,
figuring things out, making plans for the rest of us.
Just the most powerful people in the whole universe, or at least our universe. So let's do the Build-A-Burger bitches. Shall we? Hello? Corey, what? You fucking with me, right?
For me, bud. I'm good with that. The Build-A-Burger. You're frozen. You're unfrozen now.
How about now? You're frozen. Okay, you frozen?
No, I was still frozen. Can I move?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You're unfrozen too.
Well, we better get the fuck out of here before we freeze again.
Yes. Build-A-Burger group next week, folks.
You betcha. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Phil. This is my co-host Corey, and we're the OC. And we will see you next week for the Build-A-Burger group. Good night, folks.
Take care.